Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing very well. Josh Martin here, executive producer for East West Collective, coming to you today with another one of our interviews with one of our artists. Today we have a special artist with us. But before I introduce her, I want to introduce another person who's also important to East West Collective, and that is our social media director, Nellie Beal. And Nellie Beal is also joining us today. How are you, Nellie?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Nellie is coming to us from Fayetteville?
Yes,
right?
Fayetteville, Arkansas.
From Fayetteville, Arkansas, very far away from Beijing, China. And Nellie is with us, and this is the first time that she's joined us in one of our interviews, and I'm really happy that she's with us. Our artist today is very special. She is extremely talented, and actually this is the first interview that we've done with one of our artists that was a female. So I'm very excited about that as well. I would like to introduce you to Ms. Deedee Elliot. How are you, Deedee?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well. So excited that you're with us today, and you're coming to us from Dallas, is that right?
Dallas, Texas, the rainy Dallas, Texas right now.
So we're literally like spread all over. I'm in Beijing, Dallas, and Fayetteville, Arkansas, all represented. So before we get too far into the interview, I was just going to kind of let people know how we got connected to Deedee. A couple of years ago, East West Collective was looking to cover Lauren Daigle's You Say, which is now, I believe, the most popular Christian song of all time. And I was looking for someone to sing the lead on that, and didn't have anybody that I thought would do the justice that it needed. And I reached out to a friend, Tim Faust, the bass for Home Free, and asked Tim if he had anyone in mind that might really be able to do a great job on that song. And he was like, absolutely. So Tim Faust connected you and I, and Deedee has done two songs for us. One has been released, that is You Say. You can find that on our YouTube channel and Facebook page as well. But also she's recorded another song that hasn't yet been released by us, also a Lauren Daigle song called Power to Redeem. So hopefully that'll be coming out sometime this year. COVID has thrown everything into a bit of an uncertain time. Deedee, could you give us a little introduction into how did you get into music?
Well, I started singing at the age of 3. I come from a very musical family. My mom and all of her siblings, they either sing or they play an instrument. My grandfather was a singer. His mother was a singer. So singing is just in my blood to do. I've been singing. I sang in church all my life. That's really all I've ever known. I think that's really kind of like where it started. I heard my mom singing around the house all the time. I wanted to be just like her. So she was singing in church. I wanted to sing in church. If you gave her a mic, give me one too.
So I think you had said when we had talked before, I think you said that you had started singing around like 3, something like that.
3 years old. 3 years old. It's amazing to me to think like that because I have children and I just don't think I could imagine them singing solos in church at 3. Not the way they were at 3.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. That's wow. That's quite young. That's awesome.
I know.
But my understanding also is that even though you grew up singing, and obviously music has had a huge influence, which we'll get to later. But my understanding was even though you had all this influence, you didn't really have a desire at one point to be a singer. You wanted to do something else with your life. What was that?
Yeah, so I was one of those kids that I really excelled in school, and I really, really, really wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. Someone told me the story of Thurgood Marshall when I was like 7, and I just kind of stuck with it. And so I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. So at max, that was what I wanted to do, is to, sit on that bench. But at minimum, I wanted to be a forensic nurse. Like, I wanted to have something to do with the legal system, but then I also really liked health. And I didn't want to be a doctor, but I was just always kind of drawn to the job of what forensic nurses do. Like, they aid the coroner in doing, like, autopsies and all this stuff. And all of that stuff just really, like, intrigued me. I'm not a squeamish person at all. But then I also like to argue. So law makes sense.
Why is that not shocking to me? I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm kidding. Wow. That totally sounds like me. Like, my dad, when I remember growing up as a kid, we get into little arguments and stuff, and he'd be like, why don't you just grow up and be a lawyer? Like that kind of thing. So I totally relate to that. I know one part of your life is something that has had a huge impact on you. And I'm going to turn things over to Nellie and let her talk with you about that just a little bit. And then after that, we're going to get back into some of your into some of your musical career.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, Deedee. So when we talked before, I mean, like with these interviews with our artists, we know we want it to be all about the music, but at the same time, we want to recognize that a lot of them like have stories and journeys that everyone has gone through to shape and bring them to the point that they are right now. So I wondered if you would share some of your journey with trauma that you talked about that influenced your career and that journey that took you on that journey.
Yeah. So the one thing, a lot of times people will ask me, what my favorite genre of music is. And it's definitely related to the trauma that I experienced as a child. So when I was 13 years old, my parents divorced when I was 2. And my mom remarried and we moved out to California. I had a step parent. And, a lot of step parent relationships are not all that we want them to be, but they're doable. And so my stepfather at the time decided that he wanted to come and pursue ministry here in Dallas. So we moved to Dallas. And so at 13 years old, when we moved here, we knew that my biological father lived here. And so, we got back in touch with him and he wanted me and my 2 brothers to come and live with him. And, I grew up knowing that he was a womanizer per se, but I don't think that I was expecting what I actually got when I moved in. But shortly after I moved in with my dad, he started to sexually abuse me. And that went on for 3 months, the entire length of time that we lived with him. My grandfather my mom's dad ended up coming to Dallas, said he wanted to see us one weekend. And when we came to my mom's house that particular weekend, she said that she just kind of felt like something was off. And so she told us we weren't going back to my dad's house. And then that was the end of that. And so I didn't tell anybody, at the time. Matter of fact, I don't think that I told anybody until the year after. So I was 14. And when I told my mom, or when my family told my mom, she wanted to do what moms do. She wanted to press charges, all of that. We went down to the police station. They took my statement and everything. But when they started talking about prison time, at 14 years old, you're already dealing with this particular piece of your life. You don't want to think about, sending this person who is not a stranger. This is your actual father. You don't want to be the person responsible for sending your father to jail. So when they started talking about prison time, I completely shut down. I told them, I'm not saying anything else. I'm not doing anything else. And so they were like, we can't do anything about it. If she's not wanting to testify, she's not wanting to speak anymore, we can't do anything without her. So I thought that we were moving on with our lives and, so we did. My mom was just like, if you feel like you can move on, let's move on. And then I had a relationship with him after I got to be a bit older, like I was about to graduate from high school, because I thought that I could look over the trauma that happened. And because my dad is a singer as well, the music is what kind of binded us together. Him and I both had the same kind of like, it was a passion for music. I mean, my brother, the brother that's right under me, is way more passionate about this than I am. But because I was the one that wasn't shy, it didn't take much for me. If you threw me the mic, I'm going to do what I need to do, whether that is singing lead, singing background. And so that was kind of like what connected my dad and I. And so I felt like we had moved past it and we were having a decent father-daughter relationship. And then fast forward to 2018, and another girl that he had abused when she was 13 decided to speak out publicly. And the next thing I know, I woke up to my phone doing the most, because my mom had put my story, on social media. And I woke up to all these shares and requests for interviews and all of that. And so here we are today. I don't have a relationship with him anymore, but I am one of those people that I know how to separate and compartmentalize people's things, your personalities, your flaws. I know how to separate your demons from, who you are. And so I do appreciate how my parents came together to make me, because I believe that the gift that I have and the talent that I have is because of the both of them. I acknowledge him for doing a lot of work with my voice when I was younger. When I was, 13, he taught me how to really, really, really sing in front of audiences and not be afraid of, of any type of opportunity. I think I get that boldness from him, but, people have their demons, and a lot of times we can't live with people's demons. And so I've just decided that where I am in my life, I just can't live with the demon. But I do appreciate the DNA that he gave me, because I feel like I'm a better singer because of what I do get from him. But yeah, that's really been kind of like what my trauma has been over the last few years and what I've dealt with. But music has been such a great big part of that. And music has helped me overcome a lot of the feelings and a lot of the emotions that I think that if I did not have music, I would probably be a different person today because of it.
Yeah. Well, that's powerful. I mean, and then to think about kind of the irony that, music got you through that point, but it also is the thing that led you to the trauma, and being able to separate that. That's if that's not the Lord, I don't know what that is.
Exactly. I think that is the thing, is I can't discount. I know that we live in a time where faith is attacked so much, and there are so many different descriptions of who I feel like God is. But what I do know God to be for me is that he has definitely been a sustainer. He has definitely been, as the older people in church used to say, he's been a mind regulator, and he really has been a heart fixer, because I think that I would be so much worse if I did not know that I had a relationship with Christ, that I can talk to him the way that I would talk to what would be my father, is what I've had to see God as present tense to me. So that is why the relationship that I have with my natural father, he used to be the type of person that I could go to and talk to about anything. And because I don't have that anymore, I was missing that so much. But I didn't, there was just, you can have close uncles. I have an amazing family. My mom's family is just absolutely amazing. I have no short of father figures, but father figures are not fathers. And so even though I can separate the two and I know how to, differentiate between it, I still wanted something there in that particular place. And God had to be that. And so that's why I think it's changed kind of like my relationship with how I do things, because when I pray, I don't come to him with all of these legalities and all of these phrases that we hear so much in church. So many times during the middle of the day, if I'm praying, it's like, okay, God, check this out, right? Like I can't, I talk like I talk to my mom, like I talk to my uncles. And it's just been such a soothing thing for me, because it's so hard to know that you're out here singing, and to know that people know who your father is and know what you come from, but then know that there's been this disconnect that really honestly can't be repaired. And when people want to say, oh my God, you remind me so much of your dad, but they don't really know how you're going to take that. So it's just been very soothing to me that I have God to fall back on, but that I also have the gift that he gave me through music to fall back on. And that's kind of like how I've healed myself over the past 3 years since it all became public. That's how I've healed myself, is through music. Literally. Yeah. I threw myself into my work. I've worked more in the last 3 years than I feel like I've worked in my whole life. It's been for a reason.
Well, I really like how you said mind regulator. I've never heard that. That's really good.
Ooh, I can say, because, so many girls, when they're abused, they can go either way. It can be, I'm going to be all the way out here and I'm going to do, like, I'm not going to have any care about anybody. My heart is completely ice cold. And then there are the ones that can get very, very, very needy, and you can't leave the room without them freaking out. I am right in the middle. I'm right in the middle. Sometimes I need to have the attention. And then other times I'm just like, I know how to cut something off so quickly, because I can see that it is going to disrupt my peace. And for me, all of that starts in the mind. And so when I say that he's a mind regulator, he keeps me so even keel every day that I'm not, and there's nothing wrong with this, but for me, I didn't want to be the one that was having to depend on medication to do what I felt like a supernatural God could do. And so what I do is when I feel like I am starting to lose myself, I will throw on some worship music so quick. I will open up my Bible app and I get to reading scriptures and things that will regulate me. So yeah, he's a mind regulator. That's what I mean by that.
Well, thank you so much.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing and being so open, and we're
No problem.
Absolutely
incredibly honored.
So I'm very curious about some of the influence, I guess, that you've had in terms of whether talking about your musical life, some of the influence that you've had from artists, whether they were Christian or secular. I'm curious, what are some of those like early influences that you had?
So growing up, I definitely, even though she did not sing gospel per se, I've always kind of felt like she was a church girl at heart, and that was Whitney Houston. I mean, I just, the way Whitney was able to capture an audience, I wanted to do that, because my voice is just naturally a lower register than hers. And so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to hit the notes that she would hit, but I can try to get the feeling that she would give whenever she would hit the stage. So Whitney Houston, I greatly enjoy Yolanda Adams, because I love her. I love her presence. She has a very like regal presence, and I love that. Olita Adams, I love the way she shapes her sound that comes out of her mouth. And I love the fact that she has such a lower register, and she's okay with living in that. So I take from so many different artists things that would help me to define my voice. I love India Ari's. I love the way she sits in keys, like the way she sits in a track. I love that it sounds very airy and very ethereal. I love that. And then I love, there are male artists that I love too. Like I grew up on the Winans, Commission. Even though I am from the era where people would, say, well, oh, the gospel founders like the Hawkins and and Andre Crouch. I did listen to them, but I didn't know that that's who they were until I got to be older. So yeah, I remember the Hawkins and I remember the Crouches, but I was more on the contemporary, like the 90s gospel. So like BB and CC and, you know, that particular era. There's not a lot of secular artists that I necessarily glean from. I love Beyonce's showmanship. You want to have her energy for 2 hours. You really do. And because of who I sing behind now, I need Beyonce's energy for 2 hours of a show. So yeah.
Okay, now that is probably a very good point to segue to the next thing I wanted to talk about. You began singing as a full-time career in 2013, I believe, somewhere around there. Now, from 2013 until now, there's been there's a big, I guess you call it a statistic, I don't know, but a very important point. Since 2013, you have been a part of at least one project that has won a Grammy every year since 2013.
Yes.
Okay. That to me is like, that makes me feel very small. It makes me feel very small, like I'm very unimportant musically.
Don't.
So can you expand a little bit on that and maybe tell us a little bit about who it is that you sing behind now? And it's a pretty big name that I think most people will know.
So I'm so blessed and so honored to sing behind Kirk Franklin. Who is, you know, for lack of a better term, and he would hate this. He would literally hate if I said this, but he's like the king of gospel music. It's who we know. Like when you think of gospel, you literally think of Kirk Franklin. And so Kirk has afforded me the opportunity to be on so many different records because of who he's connected to. And so, yeah, like I've worked with, you know, like I said, with Kirk, and then, we just recently did a record, with DJ Khaled, on his latest project that just came out a couple of weeks ago. We were so honored for Kirk to get the call to do Tiny Desk, and that blew up, and we didn't know, because Tiny Desk don't normally have gospel artists on their show. So the fact that we, went on and it had millions of views in like a day, it was completely crazy. But I've worked with so many different artists. I've worked with just about all of the gospel artists that have names. So like Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams, Tamala Mann, Myron Butler, Bishop Jakes has been my pastor for the past 25 years. So I've done a lot of work with the Potter's House and just with those entities. Bishop Jakes had a girl group at one point called Grace, and I was a part of that. And then I've worked with secular artists like Tyrese, Lettucey. I've sang background for Chrisette Michele for years. I've been blessed. You couldn't have told me that when I walked off of my job in 2013 that I would have that list of people that I had worked with. Like, you just really couldn't have told me, because even still today, I kind of treat music as my 9 to 5. It's not something that I do all day and all night. When I come home, I take all of that off at the door. And when I come home, I really strive to be like the best wife, and I try to be the cool mom. I have young adult women now, 19 and 20 years old. So like, I'm trying to still make sure that they like me. Like, it's just, but the music helps. The music helps because I get to bring my girls along for a lot of the stuff. So they've got to meet, people like Tori Kelly, and it's just been an honor. It really has. And so the Grammy, to be on projects that win these Grammys every year, it's just like, this is just crazy. It's literally crazy. So I'm blessed.
Yes. And I'll tell you, we, as East West Collective, are extremely blessed to have you be a part of what we do.
I'm honored.
Not nearly on the same scale, but anyways, I am curious. Probably a lot of people are maybe some are curious. You have a very strong background in gospel, okay, and not just gospel, but everything that you had done was instrumental. How in the world do you get pulled into a cappella music?
So crazy. I walked off of my job in March of 2013, and I got a call from a friend of mine, Chelsea West, who goes by Peaches. She called me and said, "Hey, do you want to go on an adventure this summer?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Because I don't do adventure, and I don't. I like, I'm saying, I'm very right brain. I'm very type A. I would like to have a plan as to what we're doing. I'm only creative when I get behind the mic. Once I leave, I'm back to being like, yeah. So she was like, you want to go on an adventure? I was like, I just don't know what you're talking about. And she said, well, there's this show on NBC called The Sing Off. And I was like, oh my God, like I watched that show like every season. And so Pentatonics had just won for season 3. And so I watched that show and I was so mad. I was happy that Pentatonics won, but I really, really, really loved Afro Blue, like really loved them. And so when they went home, I was so mad. I remember screaming at the TV. So she was like, this show is coming back called The Sing Off. And I'm like, Peaches, do you know the kind of singing that they do on the show? Because we don't do that kind of singing. And she was like, no, it's okay. As long as we have Deonis, who is Deonis Cook, who was basically the musical director for the group that I went on the sing off with called 10. Peaches called me. She called Deonis, and then 8 other friends of hers. She put us together from different parts of the country, and we all came together and went on the sing off. Had never sang a cappella music before. Matter of fact, I didn't even know 4 of the people that were in the group. I met them at our first rehearsal. So we get out here, we get out to LA, and it was indeed an adventure. It was an adventure. It was summer camp, but for adults. And so there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of fun being had. You know, they put us all up at this hotel. And so we're getting to know all these people, which is how I met Home Free. A matter of fact, Austin from Home Free, we just ended up we were in a whole imaginary relationship during the sing off. Like that was my boo. We were like, we are destined to be together. It's what it was. So they always paired me and Austin up to sing, duets together. So yeah, we went out to this show and we had never sang any of this stuff before. And every single week when we would go through the judging process and they would say Home Free, 10, and whoever else is they're safe. We would look at each other like, how are we safe every week? We don't know what we're doing. But what I actually, realized was there was really nothing any different from doing the type of singing that we did here at home. The only difference was Deonis gave us our part. You learned your part and you just come into the rehearsal and sing your part regardless of what other parts are going on. You blend it together, and when it's time to show up and perform, you show up and perform. And that's the one thing that I knew that I could do. So even though we would be in rehearsal and they would come and tell us like, oh, maybe you guys should tweak this, blah, blah, blah. In my head, it was always, I'm going to go out here and do whatever I want to do. And that's what I did. Every single show, when the music cued us in, I'm just going out here to do what I want to do. And we ended up making it to the finale show. Home Free won that season, but we were first runner up. We could not believe it. I was like, how did y'all let us beat y'all this whole time? Because we don't know what we're doing. So that was the sing off. It was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. But yeah, I'll never do anything like that again. The judging process, I just couldn't even imagine standing in front of people and listening to them tell me whether they liked what I did or not. Like, what? No, bye. So that was the sing off. lifelong friendships, though. I'm still
Yeah.
very much in touch with so many of the people that we met on the show, the producers. It's just it was a great time. It really was.
That's awesome. And then, of course, part of the a cappella stuff that you've done with us recently, as I already said, you had recorded 2 Lauren Daigle songs for us, You Say and Power to Redeem, and both. I know nobody yet has heard Power to Redeem, but that's really good. But You Say, I mean, I'm partial. I'm partial because it's, I guess I produced it, but I'm partial, but I really love our version. And if you're listening to this and you haven't heard You Say,
Please go
please watch it. It's very, it's very different. Like, I love Lauren Daigle's voice. She's absolutely amazing and fantastic. But it is different when it's sung. When it is sung by Deedee. Deedee puts a different twist on it, and it just gives a different emotion. It's awesome. I remember when Tim Faust had introduced us, and I had sent you a few MP3s of some of the stuff that we had done, just to kind of give you an idea of what we were doing. I do remember I had sent you the song that we recorded on our first album called Nobody Like You, Lord. Okay. I mean, I sent it to you. I didn't know, there would be any connection to anything. I just sent it to you, and you responded, telling me that, Miranda, it's Curtis. I know she's married. Is it still Curtis?
It's Curtis.
It is Curtis. Okay. Yeah. Miranda Curtis. Right. Had, that was a song that she had written and performed. And, you happened to be, very good friends with Miranda, and so that was an interesting thing. And but I remember feeling really good because this is why I felt really good. And I guess it's okay if I tell the story. I know I'm taking time away from you, but it made me feel good. I remember that you had responded to me like, oh my gosh, Nobody Like You, Lord. Yeah, this is one of Miranda's songs, and friends with her, and blah blah blah. And you had asked me, is it okay if I send her the song? And I was like, well, yeah, please send it off. But I remember you had responded. You had texted and said that I wanted to show you this, and you sent me a screenshot of a text that of a thread that you had with Miranda, and her response to hearing her song done in a foreign language, done in Mandarin. And actually in that song there's Mandarin and English together, and it's the only song that we've done where those two languages are blended. But I remember the one thing that I really remember is her saying, I'm sitting here listening to this with tears going down my face. Never would have thought that my song would have been recorded in like Mandarin. And I was sitting on an airplane when I got that text, and I remember like I had a tear coming down my face, and the people around me were probably like, what is this weirdo, But I felt amazing, and I'll tell you why. I felt really good, simply because when you do something like this, you start to wonder, is anybody listening? Does anybody care? And you start to wonder, is there any value to what we're doing? And then to feel validated by somebody who wrote the song, and to think like, wow, they're even moved by hearing this. That made me feel really, really, really good. And so I have always appreciated that very much. Yeah. So it's a good feeling. I think because a lot of gospel artists, they won't know what the nations are saying about their music, because a lot of them won't get the opportunity to go. And so as a gospel artist, because even though gospel artists know that their music
can sometimes be worldwide. A lot of times, Miranda at the time wasn't signed to no big label or anything like that. And I believe that project was mostly independent. And so for you to be an independent artist and for your music to be sang, not in a language that we hear all the time, but Mandarin is a major deal. And I'll never forget the very first time that I ever went overseas singing gospel music and hearing them sing the music back. I was done. Like, I was like, I know now I'm not made for mission work because I'm gonna cry the whole mission. Like, I can't deal with it at all. So yeah, it's definitely it's such an affirming feeling to know that, because gospel is the music is a feeling. You really, I tell people all the time, gospel music really is top tier. It is. It's top tier. And I know we have so many other genres and all of that, but there's just something about gospel that makes you feel. And I think that's what it is to hear these words, "Nobody like you, Lord," in Mandarin, and then going back to English is just it's a game changer. I wish more people did it. I wish there were more gospel songs translated into other languages because it's one of those things where, if heaven is like what we say it's going to be, everyone's not going to get to heaven speaking in English. Why would our language be the default? You know what I'm saying?
Right. For sure.
Obviously there's going to be many different languages happening. And can you imagine what that's going to feel like when someone starts singing "How Great Thou Art" in different languages? It's a wipeout. I'm going to tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be a wipeout. Talking about there's no more crying. Yes, it is. We're weeping. We're weeping. That's what it is. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, that was that specific song, "Nobody Like You, Lord." That was one of the reasons that we wanted to take that song and do it in and combine the languages was because of in Revelation, there's a scene of the throne room of God, and it's people from all nations, all tribes, and all tongues singing praises to God, and that's going to be that's an amazing thing, and that's one of the things that I want to try to emphasize with East West Collective is it's trying to take these two different cultures that are vastly different, but try to say that we have something incredibly close and in common in Christ. Absolutely. And so I love that. Deedee, thank you for your time, but I have a question for you. Would you mind taking us out on singing something for us? Could you do that?
Yes.
I would love to hear you sing something.
So I've actually, I don't know what it is. I think the closer that I get to 40, I'm just feeling him so much more. I don't know. But I've been singing this hymn all day, so I'll sing a little piece of that.
That'd be great.
'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know what said the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I prove him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus. Oh, for grace to trust him more.
Wow. I just got teared.
Yeah, that's what
I have to wipe my tears. Give me a second.
Thinking the same, like I'm about to cry.
Okay. All right. I'm a big guy. I don't cry. I'm just kidding. Wow. Thank you. That was so beautiful. And I know I've told you a million times. Thank you so much for everything that you, not just that you've done with East West Collective, but especially for that, but just all of the ways that you influence people with music and the influence that you have. And I really look forward. I know these 2 songs that we've done won't be the last, and that we'll be recording
I'm
more
excited.
with you. But I appreciate that very much. Thank you. And
Thank
also thank
you.
you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Nellie, for joining us
You're
as
welcome.
well. I appreciate that very much. Yes, ma'am. Well, I will say goodbye to everyone, and I hope that you all have enjoyed the interview. And please go to our YouTube channel to look for Like You Say. We'll make sure and we'll post a link to that so you can take a listen to Deedee singing You Say. Thank you all, and have a blessed day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.